Greetings, us. Hope you can hear me because my phone's natural. Oh, did I say natural? But my phone's microphone doesn't seem to work. So hopefully you can hear me through this headset. I'm at a rest area taking a break. Leaving Florida. And as I was coming up, 95. Was it? No, 75 north. I was just looking at the sides of the highway and of course the grounds where the highway is built on top of it, and I can see it all. Having the knowledge, I can see it all. Things are absolutely not what we were told. Of course we were lied to, but I don't think people realize how much so. This entire earth is decomposed and decomposing matter of giants, dragons. You got a lot of petrified giants here. Ancient creatures, ancient beings, all decomposed and decomposing. That is what creates the earth. They tell us a little bit. They like, you're from the earth, you go back to the earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It's weird, to be honest, that they put us in caskets. I probably have to look that up. Why did they tell us they put us in caskets? What's that about? What are they saying to accomplish? Probably just a ploy to get money out of you, because they say, oh, you gotta have a casket. So you gotta buy a casket. You can't go into the ground without a casket. Now, if anybody knows the reasons that they gave for saying we have to be in caskets, please do comment in the chat or underneath this video and tell me, what is the reasons you were told we gotta be in a casket? Because how can that be beneficial to the earth when this earth is formed from all of the decomposing and decomposed beings, creatures, whatever you want to call them, that lived before us? All of these giants, the Nephilim, that lived before us when they had the firmament, when they had the great floods, when Medusa was destroying things, However, they were eliminated. You have things like mountains that people believe are mountains. To be honest, I can't even remember what they told us, like how mountains came to be, because mountains were literally created from giants and dragons, Nephilim, dying, being buried, some of them piled on top of each other. You can see a lot of it. You know what you're looking for. You can go to Google Earth and you can look all over the world, and you can see all of them in the mountains. You can see them laying out. And then you will be able to understand too that all of the juices, if you will, that we get from this earth, that man who deem themselves allowed to extract from the earth, all of these sources and minerals and things like that, oil, all of it. marble, Himalayan salt, all of these things come from these decomposing beings. They are flesh and other parts of these beings. They are blood. This earth is formulated from all of that: the flesh, the organs, the blood. And we see a lot of rocks. That's where rocks come from. We see rocks that are formed, as we think, to look like uh, giants or beings, body parts. When they started showing you those giant heads that they were fighting, especially in Mexico, people were thinking and they were told that these are statues created in memoriam of these beings that once existed. No, those are petrified versions of the actual beings, aka they are the actual beings. In a lot of formats, these beings are not fully decomposed. When someone passes away, we watch First 48 and stuff like that, and you see how their body decomposes, and sometimes it can happen very quickly, and you see the bone and all of that. A lot of times, that is sped up by being exposed to the elements and things like that. When you have these large, massive beings that still have the muscles, the tissues, the juices, organs, like us humans, but they're still slightly different. And they are massive. And they're being piled on top of each other in a lot of cases. It takes time for their bodies to break down. And they're not, again, human also. They're formulated differently, if you will. And a lot of us know about the Nephilim and how they were remixing things. We have what they call volcanoes erupting. They tell you that the earth is just doing that. No. The earth is full of decomposing previous life. You have explosions from the gases that are releasing from the chemicals that are formulated from the decomposition of these beings. And if there's not a clear exit way, then there can be an explosion. You have dragons. I know you find it weird that they carve out marble and just tell you that it's some kind of stone or mineral or whatever they tell you that they got from inside of a mountain, when it is the flesh of pre-existing beings. Pink Himalayan salt. Previous existing beings. And they tell you that oil, all of these things that they look for and use. And I think a lot of us will safely deduce that the Creator intended for life to recycle and for it to be used, but you just got a certain group that they knew a lot more than we did, and they were able to manipulate us in our beliefs, and they were able to extract and benefit from the things that they pull. When all of this is free, all of this belongs to us as we can get it. We shouldn't be charged for stuff. They shouldn't have the authority to say so and force themselves. However, academia is such a disappointment, but it's to be expected, because how else will you be able to remain confused? They tell you stuff like the Sphinx and things like that. Oh, somebody built that. Come on. It's 2026. It's just time for us to stop buying into these BS stories and sitting around wondering, how on earth did they build this? You have the mounds. There's a lot of them all over. You have mounds in Georgia and whatnot. And a lot of them were used like pyramids, but a lot of them actually are burial grounds. I have a different view from my 18-wheeler, of course. But if you drive along the mountain, and again, I always tell people this, it doesn't even, it doesn't even have to be along the mountain or along the highway. I just happened to come off 75 North, which I'm on 75 North, and I'm just looking at the side of the highway. I'm looking at how where they carve out parts of it so that they can clear a path to build up and then put the highway on there. And when you look, because again, my view is different because I'm up high, so I can look right down on top of things. And you look down into that open flesh, if you will, of those large beings that are buried there to create this massive earth lumps that we have. You can see clearly that that is flesh. You can clearly see. You can see the black. You can see the red, the clay. And you see the green that's growing from that. You have blood, you have dry blood, you have extracted tissue that is decomposed. And that is what the red clay is. Grass grows on it, mushrooms, other life forms, and you get trees and stuff that grow out of it. And it compresses and it piles up. But just look at the side of it and you'll see, you can tell that that is a being. You see some section and you can tell that that is clearly some kind of a dragon, a giant lying there. And you just see a lot of them alongside the highway. And if you look to the ones that are carved into on the side of the road, in the middle between the highways, bridges and whatnot, and you can see the flesh. You can see the flesh. I've always seen, before I even really understood what I was looking at, flesh. When I see slices of mountain that has been taken away, I said that just to me is flesh. And who would have thought that I was correct? You know, who would have thought? They put a price on it. They tell you all these little layers and things that you see, like in a marble, the designs and everything. They tell you that's from years of build up and all that other kind of stuff. And this is actual beings. You go inside caves and things like that. I mean, it's so much that in hindsight, I'm like, wow. I remember collecting, and I still have it on my hard drive. And occasionally I made a video or post about this. I would do that throughout the years of all the many flowers, seafood, caves, and so on and so forth that literally look like a woman's vagina. And through our research, you can see how they've entered into caves through what they carved out of it so people can, and it's literally entering into a once existed being through their vagina. You can see, if you do your research, all kind of heads, body parts, full beings. They have you to think that this stuff was created by previous existing beings or man. They're statues, they're this or that. And these are pre-existing beings. Still here, still formulating. I don't know where people think we get all this earth from. I've always been curious and researching and interested in different places, especially when I moved to another state. And I would tell people Georgia is one huge mountain, especially people that are from here. They're like, oh, God, no, it's not. I say that about Alabama, not that the whole thing is a mountain, but it's very mountainous. And a guy that lives there says, Alabama is flat. How? When I literally go there and stay on the mountains in Alabama. But I'm going to turn the camera around and figure it out. Really quick, let me show you something. There we go. Now, look at this. Man didn't come along and pile these hills up like this. Man didn't do that. Man created that manhole, of course. Never step on it. But man didn't come and create these hills. Man carved into it and built up on it so that we could have structure. And they certainly didn't make this rock. That's why they say everything is living, including rocks. An actual living portion of something that once roamed the earth. But look at the parts here. And you see the clay. Then you'll see the black. And you see the green. And if this is not necessarily the first time, or if it's the first time, or one of the earlier times, and you're just early along in this journey, you're not still certain, you're still researching, you're considering researching more, just remember me pointing this out to you. The clay, the black, and the green. Kind of like the same, but red, the black, and the green. Look at this. This is a combination that you will often see. Clay. Right? And you see the black. And of course, the grass will grow on top of it. And I can 100% guarantee you that this is a once existed being. Not a, but of course many. That, look at the ants. Life just continues to grow through it and feed from it. And we have eruptions, we have spills, we have all of these things that come from the decomposition and the chemical make that it creates of the previous beings. You'll find, and you can see, and you can definitely see it on Google Earth, remnants of, like, you can literally see, looking at the world, go look at Africa, look everywhere. And you can see all of these dragons and other giants and beings and how they formed the earth. And you can see them around landmass. You can see how long they are, how many hundreds and thousands of miles of landmass they actually consist of. You can see everything, every part of them. You can see the feathers on the dragon's hat. You can see the scales on the fish, the huge fish. You can see all of it. In a lot of these mountains, you can still see the Nephilims, the different Nephilims. You can see the giants, all these different beings that existed, the dragons. You can literally see them. You can see some of their huge body parts sticking up off the ground. People sometimes dig and be like, ah, I found a giant head. I found a giant head. That is 100% life. Everything is. Everything is. We take all of these resources that are provided to us by these beings that once existed, and they utilize them how they so please. You can see large dragon scales. You can see everything. And then look at how they built this pillar. And this kind of looks like how Himalayan salt looks, right? But just imagine this is actual life, not in the form that we were told. Everything breathes, everything exists, everything. And just think about crystals. I mean, everything. These things once belonged to a larger body mass. They walked, they talked. Of course, they reproduced and everything. And we're given a mere fraction of the story. But if you look at how beautiful, all detail, and the sparkliness of it, this is just a pillar that they decided to take this and make with it. And then this is what to be. You know what I think about? Turn this back around. I think about us and our existence and all of the things that we were robbed of, simply by not knowing the truth. A lot of the ancients, they knew. I know we know that a lot of ancients had like specific sacred burial grounds that they protected, but they know that this earth is where our everything before us used to lie. What's the one dragon that fought his brother? They lie beside each other over in Africa. Even the fish that one of them ate. You can see where the one that he stabbed his brother with the sword. You can see all of that. Go to Google Earth, you'll see it right there in the earth. One of them started with a T. And he was so tall, he used to bump his head on the stars. But just imagine for us, which is why they found it important to erase cultures' history, split up cultures, indoctrinate them into their way of living, their rules, their Christianity, whatever. Anything to keep them from informing their offspring about where we live and how serious it is, how important it is. And when you have people who, sometimes people like to say, oh, you're a tree hugger, this type of thing. But people will say, everything is alive, everything is living. Everything on this earth that comes from this earth is alive, regardless of how we look at it. Including the trees that grow. The trees that once used to be so huge, so big and tall beyond really our imagination. And a lot of people say those trees were removed to try and keep the Nephilim from having an escape path because they needed to be destroyed because they were bad. Look at this. Now look at the cycle of life here. Look at the clay. And then the black and the green and the mushrooms and the tree. And somebody chose to cut down this tree. Don't know if it was dead and they cut it down or it died after being cut. But look at the sheer violation. Look at they sprayed it. How deep tree roots can go. Just simply amazing. And look at the mushrooms. Yes, all of this growing through decomposed life. People say natural resources, we're losing our natural resources. But we understand what these natural resources truly are. How precious that is. And then you think about how they continue to scavenge the earth, even come and take over your land if they feel that something is there they can use, so that they can siphon it and use it for a lot of things that is harmful to the natural earth, the cycle of earth. Look at all this clay. Life. As I'm going up 75 and I saw some of the excavators there riding up the side of the mountain, the hills, and scraping off the clay, tilling it down, because I guess they're going to put another bridge or road on the highway. I said, dang, just look at them doing what they do. And of course, everything that decomposes is here to get back. And everything is a chemical. We are chemical. We are electric beings. And everything blends well with everything. Everything is connected. Everything in nature belongs and works together. And it gives us every John Brown thing that we need. And these things in existence decided that they were going to be the head of that, take over that, extract it, and use it for what? And then they tell us stuff like, oh, we got global warming. We got this, we got that. Because of people got to do this and do that. But they are the ones who decided to keep inventing and building and burning and extracting and just wasting all of the earth's resources. And regardless of what they say, the earth is going to earth. Things will always be given back. It's like stirring up a pot of food as it cooks. That's how man knows to, when you go to a recycle yard, they put this stuff in the ground and they cover it up, and that becomes a whole chemical process for it to return back into the earth. Now, a lot of those items were made from natural resources, which is how they're able to go back into what they came, or where from they came. And they understood the process of what happens and what's happening from all of these beings. We are literally walking on and living from all that was here before us. All of the giants, the Nephilim, the naughty and the nice, the gods, Zeus, everybody that roamed, all the dragons. People say dinosaurs, dragons that existed, and they had their time here. And in a lot of those cases, one thing that I always come back to They had their time, but what also happened during their time? They were destroyed. We had the Great Flood. We had the where a lot of them were petrified. We had the firmament where the water just boiled for such a long time. You know, I still don't know about this. Oh, hell exists and all of that. There's no, to me, no, just knowing what I know. I don't see there being some place in the core of the earth where you're gonna go as a spirit to boil and burn. Because if any of that would be, it definitely would be all of the ones who stole from us, stole from all life. They made the rules. They chose what they do to us. They chose our path here. Imagine us coming up from our just whichever tribe or culture you originated from and coming up in that completely, being taught what all of your people before you knew and how they lived and how they practiced and how they respected the earth and how they didn't need to create this type of plant so it can look fancy or so they can charge a lot, but know what everything growing is and what it can do for your body, and truly respecting these trees that people cut down and take it and make it and use stuff with it. They understand what it took for that tree to become. There's a huge amount of respect, and I don't think a lot of people truly understand why some people really, really respect trees. Imagine people call people tree huggers as an insult or a joke, when that tree literally came from previous life. Not sacrificing per se, but just doing its part in recycling and giving back. And then out came this tree. Out came the mushrooms that are also here to help and they can hurt. But the medicinal powers of all these things, and these people chose to say, first of all, not inform you, not allow you to get that naturally from your previous, but to create expensive medications that really harm you. But they've used some of the medicinal powers from nature and then tried to create their own versions of it and told you that's what you need. Imagine each of us beings as we walk this earth, and people say ground, take off your socks, step in the grass, walk through it all. I see grounding on such a deep level. That grass is that top layer that is oftentimes soft, feels like what man made, a carpet, a plush carpet, and you walking on it, and that grass was what grew and knew to grow from the top layer of the formulations of the tissue and the blood and the flesh of the ones that were so massively huge, and all we know is we going up a hill. You going up Stone Mountain, that's all you know. Not knowing that you're walking up life. Before I even knew and understood, as a whole adult, where marble came from, I didn't know where pink Himalayan salt came from. I was driving trucks and I realized each state had a mountain. Maybe I was told that as a child, I'm not sure. But as an adult, I didn't know that. I didn't recall that information. I get to driving trucks and I'm like, each state? Then I'm noticing all of the mountains And these states and regions are of different flesh. They all look different. Then I go on to find out where they get rocks and marble from. I will watch documentaries on that and watch them just cut. You get considered fancy and high class if you have this marble in your house. And you're literally putting flesh that was cut into from existing beings. And we're just like, oh, those are mountains. That's what they're made of. That one is different. That one is different. And I'm looking at the different structures of the mountains and trying to stop at all of them and touch them and just get a close up look and check them out. And I'm like, amazing. How did this just grow out of the earth? That didn't just happen. That didn't just happen. There's so much more. But for the most part, this is pretty much all I'm interested in talking about, probably forever. It's just a part of the keys and understanding what you really are, who you really are, because we a lot of us don't know, if not most or all of us. We weren't never told the truth. We don't know how we were formulated. We have stories that were told us that are just surface level, meaning that doesn't explain anything. Especially when you know these other things existed here that they were a lot like us, which is a way a lot of these geologists and others are able to. They extract DNA from deep inside of them and have them tested. I have one guy I'm gonna introduce y'all to. Amazing. And they're able to determine a whole lot about it. Like, I was watching the same guy, identify, what is it called? I'll show it to you guys. But I talked about it in a previous video in the past couple of days. But it's what people think it's a huge tree. Probably they say it's the biggest tree in existence now that was from a larger tree, which really it looks like a tree stump, but it's so huge. It's called the biggest tree that exists, and he identified that as the lower half of the foot from like the Achilles heel on down, and so the foot would be either detached, but probably in the ground, where you can see where the foot is probably underneath the ground, but you can see where it was cut by somebody they were at war with, or an enemy, a predator, whatever, or somehow detached from the Achilles heel. And knowing the human anatomy and doing that analysis and comparison of how the tendons are and how the tendons look when they are cut, how the capillaries work, how you can see the blood that ran down, and how that blood creates in certain areas moss and certain areas grass, and what we call black blood, which I'm telling you is the black parts. There's so much that we don't know, understand, and need to know. A lot of people are doing a lot of things that are just like, for us, it's very tragic. It's like we aren't supposed to be behaving this way as humans. We are supposed to be the most civilized, if you will, version of the previous life existences, because they were on a different level. The way they live was pretty much like, probably worse than how the animals in the wild are, because they were always trying to be like the people that are ruling us. just take advantage all over the place. And imagine all these different types of creatures and sizes and battling and fighting and mating with things they weren't supposed to mate with and all that, just causing pure chaos. Now, we were supposed to be the pride and joy of the Creator. We're supposed to be the peaceful ones, if you will. We're supposed to be the most civilized, and look at how a lot of our humans today, or beings today, are behaving. And I was doing laundry yesterday at my terminal, and there was another female in there, and we just struck up a conversation, talking about people are weird, they're doing weird things, blah, blah, blah. And I said, but a lot of people cut the conversation pretty short. They say, yeah, that dude was tripping. He was crazy. He was evil. That was weird. That's messed up what he did. And they just don't really go deeper. Bro, that ain't supposed to be us. People killing their entire families, people killing their parents, and blah, blah, blah. Everything is out of whack. That's my response. The earth is out of whack. This earth is being violated and destroyed so much more and faster than it is supposed to. A lot of these disturbed beings are not even in full decomposition. They haven't even turned over properly to give back to us. And these things have and are digging into them and violating them, experimenting, trying to finally use it. Just being disrespectful and greedy, disturbing it, always trying to build something, disturbing that which is lying and supposed to be doing its thing. Trying to control that process. We have gases erupting, coming from the decomposition of mainly the dragons, the lava, the stuff like that. They're causing things to be out of sync. They're causing chemicals and gases to mix that shouldn't be, and things to be released out. And then they're trying to create their own versions of weather, all that stuff. And imagine the weather, the sun, the moon, whatever we got, whatever we were given, the earth was given, is here to do a thing. And it's created to work just right. Because it helps not only sustain us and feed us, but it also creates and gives to what is needed, so that while we're walking on top of this is all being decomposed and turned over. So cooking, if you will. And they mess with that. But one thing that really sticks out to me, and I think is super important, is that the main ones that do this are the ones that are also in desperate need of trying to figure out how can they stay here, how can they survive. Because the earth moving as it should is harmful to them. That says a lot to me. That says a lot. And as I walk and I'm it's getting start going down again. I should have went on to the truck. I'm talking, I'm having this conversation, people are coming and going, and they're hearing bits of it. And I can tell by the way they're looking at me, even though I already get the look, because I'm going to stand out. My energy and plus my look. But as they're hearing bits and pieces, I know that it's going to follow them, stick with them. They're going to be like, that was pretty deep. I wonder where she's going with that. I wonder where she's spitting over there. And it's going to trigger something. And likely, they're going to delve into it more. But imagine who we'd be, what would it be? if we could have lived as our Creator intended and knowing full well, because we should, all that we need to know about this place we live, how it works, what this is. Imagine the innocent children who they'll go outside and play, to play with the clay, to play with all that, and they have no idea what's in their hands. A lot of the construction workers, they don't know. They just dig. They go to school. They learn about the rocks, the marbles, and all that. Miners, they learn about all that stuff. But most of them actually don't know, truly, truly, what that is they're messing with. And a lot of them would definitely understand by knowing that they shouldn't be just all up in there violating all willy nilly. But I am gonna try to make it to the truck. So I'm gonna end this for now. Y'all can follow me, subscribe, comment, like. I'll be back. There'll be more. We're definitely gonna be getting all into this with footage, documentation, proof, everything. I should have took my opportunity. Okay, I'm gonna get something else for the snack machine. And the next time it slows down, I'm going back. All right, later, y'all.